Okay, so we're learning as a schus for Shalema Filana Chaya Basarach. We are at the Gemara on Daf Chaf Tes Amud Beis. We saw the Mishnah yesterday, which discussed the Isurim of Yayin Nesach. So we're going to be talking today about Yayin Nesach. Yayin Nesach in this parak is discussed as being an Isser that comes either from Psukim, but it's really Isser that comes because of the chashash that Yain was used to provide this kefabim. Later on in the Masechta, it's going to be discussed as an Isser that comes because we don't want Yidden to intermarry, to mingle with the Goyim and then intermarry. And the Mefarshim have different explanations about how to put the two reasons together, how they both interact. In addition, we're going to be talking today about the Isser of Gilui. Mayim Magulim. You're not allowed to use liquids that have been left out because of the chashash, because there's a danger that a snake might have gotten some of its venom into the liquid. This applies. This is both broader and narrower. It's broad in the sense that it includes water and any kind of liquid, any drink, water and wine and milk, but it's narrower in the sense that we don't follow it because it's only in places where this is a realistic chash. Now that there's not a realistic chash, we're not as machmer. But we can see in the Gemara, it's really chomer. That means if you leave it for 5 minutes, even a guy sleeping next to it, we come to the conclusion that it's asa. So it was a very significant impediment when it was in practice. So Gemara, Yayin Minalan. Where do we get from? And this is l'chayr nasmachta. Daf Chaf Tes Amud Beis by the Gemara, starting from the Gemara on Chaf Tes Amud Beis. Yayin Minalan. Where do we see that Yayin is aser because of Yayin Nesach, Yayin of a guy, or that a guy had access to? Again, like we said, the reason is going to be because of Avoda Zara, but because it's going to be clear from the Gemara, it's going to go back and forth about when you're chayshish. This is more like an asmachta. Amar Abavu Amar Kra. Asher cholav zvechemoi yechelu. You're going to eat from the fats of their zvachim. Yishtu yayin asichim. You'll drink the wine of their libations, of what they pour out. Ma zevach asa b'hana. Av yayin nami asa b'hana. Just like the actual carbon, the sacrifice that the goyim make to their avodah zara is asa b'hana. So too, the yayin that's involved in their avodah zara is also asa b'hana. So Gemara zevach gufa minal. How do you know that their zevach itself is asa? I mean, it doesn't really come up that often, right? Because a zevach, we won't be buying zvachim, won't be buying meat from goyim because it's treif, it's nevela. But if one should happen to purchase some, you still have another problem of that it's asa b'hana because of the possibility it was used for avodah zara. The chsiv vayitzmedu lebal pa'ar vayechlu zivchei mesim. It says legabe bal pa'ar, which is obviously an avodah zara. It says that they ate zivchei mesim. Zivchei mesim is a reference to zvachim of avodah zara. They ate the zvachim of avodah zara. Ma meis asa b'hana, av zevach nami asa b'hana. It's called zivchei mesim. So we see that it's compared to a mace, just like a mace is asa b'hana, so too a zevach is asa b'hana. It's like the mace gufa mina. We have this chain of whatever we say it's comparable to. How do we know that thing also is asa? Asher shem shem me'egla rufa. Ksiv hacha v'tamasham Miriam. Ksiv hasa v'afasham esagala b'nachal. Malal nasa b'hana avkanami asa b'hana. It says a lashon by Miriam v'tamasham Miriam that it's misa, and it says by egla rufa that should use lashon sham to tell you, and egla rufa is asa b'hana. Ma'alon asa b'hana avkanami asa b'hana. Where do we know over there? Since it says a lashon kapara legabe the egla rufa, and by kachim it often says a lashon to be mechaper, so that tells you egla rufa is also asa b'hana. We're at the 2 dots, about 12 lines up from the bottom of Chaf Tes Amud Beis. Sagt die Gemara. The vinegar, we said in the Mishnah, vinegar of a guy that was originally wine in the hands of the guy is going to be usher, just like wine, to for a yid. A yid is going to be usher to partake of that vinegar. So the pshita, mishum da'achmetz pakale isura. It was originally wine by an ovid kechav, and we know there's an isur of yayin nesach, as we know, because she was used it for his avodah zara. So it should become mutter because it changed from wine into vinegar. It's still something that was used for avodah zara. It's coming to tell you, by telling you that yayin the achmet is pakalei surah. That's telling you that now that it's chaymitz, now that it becomes vinegar, it's no longer, there's no longer a chash of that he's going to use it for avodah zarah. I mean, they only use wine; they don't use chaymitz. So from the fact
it was chametz before it got to the avodah zarah, it's telling you.
No. What it's telling you is it's telling you that after that a guy, in the case that
If he had it, and then
we said if a guy has chaymitz, has yayin, and then it turns to chametz, that's what the Mishnah said it's aser. What's the chiddush? Obviously, it didn't lose its iser because it was yayin. It was yayin nesach. If you have yayin nesach that you bought from a guy and becomes chaymitz, it doesn't become mutter. So if it's in the hand of a guy, so he's saying what the point of this is to tell you that when the chiddush of this must be that chaymitz itself would not be aser. If a guy got his hands on chaymitz, then it would be mutter. So it's coming to tell you, so if we have chaymitz that we give to a guy, you don't need, by yayin nesach, you can give a guy yayin nesach, but it needs a double seal. You get not yayin nesach. You give a guy yayin that's not mavushal, and if you have it double sealed, it's going to be mutter. Mishum, but if it's only chaymitz, then you only need a single seal. So why do you even need? Now the Gemara is going to explain why do you even need a single seal on chaymitz? What's the chash? He's not going to use it for avayis chavim. Mishum in suchi loy menaschi. As far as it using it for yayin nesach, he doesn't use chaymitz for yayin nesach, so you don't need the double seal that you would need for yayin, for regular yayin. Maybe you'll be concerned that the guy is going to say this is a higher quality vinegar than my vinegar, and he'll switch it with his own vinegar that's a lower quality, but that had originally been wine, which has the isser of yayin nesach. The chaysim, a single chaysim, the lower level of security is enough to deal with the issue of possibly of him switching it. He's not going to go to the trouble of falsifying even a single seal just for the slight benefit of switching from a lower quality vinegar to a higher quality. But if it was yayin and that he had used for his avodah zara, that we would have to be chayshish. If you gave him yayin with only a single seal, he might use it for his avodah zara because that's very important to him. And then he would falsify a single seal.
So yayin of a guy needs a chaysim, a double chaysim.
Means
So
the yayin of a yid that's going to a guy. I mean, because you can't ever have it's not really practical that a guy should have wine that didn't originally have a single seal, have a double seal. As I say, that had a double seal from the time it was created. So the only way this comes out is if a yid takes his wine and gives it to a guy to hold. So if he does that, he has to have a double seal so that he could take it back. Or more similarly, I think our yayin that's not mavushal that we have in our houses, and we have a shiksa come into the house, I think that's considered to be double sealed. You know, the regular seal that they have around it that can't be opened up without ruining it. I think the Gemara is going to discuss that on like in a blot or two, what exactly, what's considered a double seal and a single seal. The same thing, the same din legabi we just said legabi yain chaymitz that became, it means that it was originally wine, it became chaymitz. Say the same thing, yain mevushel yain, before it became mevushel, it was regular wine, it's aser. Pshita, again, the same question, ifshel pakale surah, why would I think if it was originally raw wine, uncooked wine, that there is a chashash of yain nesach and became aser? The fact that you cook it can't get rid of the isser of yain nesach. Ravashi also shrin and yain mevushel shalom to be out of the chab ain't sarach chaysim. As far as they're being machlef the yayin, you might ask, why do we have to tell you the same chiddush? It's not really the same chiddush. There might be more of a yetzahara to switch a worse yayin mavushal with a better yayin mavushal. So even though we said legabi chaymitz is not as enticing, one might think. So we wanted to tell you this. It's a echlufe. It's still even legabi yayin mavushal, which is actually wine. It's only going to need a single chaysim. It doesn't need a double chaysim to stop the guy from being machlef. Again, this is all. Yeah. When you're giving your yayin to a guy to watch. Ton Rabban, yayin mavushal va'aluntis shel oivdei kechavim. Yayin mavushal, which we know there's no chash by yayin mavushal of yayin nesach. They don't use it for their avodah zara. And aluntis is a kind of the Gemara is going to explain what aluntis is. It's a kind of mixture that has wine in it. Shel oivdei kechavim asurim. Both of them are asur, meaning in the tzir that we just said before, where it had originally been regular wine, and then he was mavashal it, or he made it into this aluntis, it's going to be asur, like we just said, because the isur doesn't go away. Aluntis kabriyasa, but if the guy got it when it was already aluntis, when it was already a mixture of wine with other things, then it's mutter. Ve'ezu hi aluntis. What is aluntis? It's Gabi Shabbos. Gabi Shabbos, Tanan, or Tatan Gabi Shabbos, Oisen Anumlin, Vein Oisen Aluntis. You can make Anumlin, which is a different mixture of wine with other ingredients. So that you can make on Shabbos because it's used to drink. It's not considered a medication, which would be Asr al Schika Samman, and Vein Oisen Aluntis. But you can't make Aluntis, which is a slightly different preparation, because of the Isser Shabbos. There's nothing to do with Goyim now. This is saying aluntis you can't make on Shabbos because it's schika samamanim. It's used, as we're going to see, to help people after they go to the bathhouse to warm up, which is literally like, you remember the Saint Bernards used to have the little bottle under their neck. Maybe you don't know what I'm talking about, but they always used to talk about the medicinal alcohol after you get very cold. This is the Gemara saying that they would use aluntis, they would use this medicinal alcohol to warm people up. Ve'ezu hi anumlin, ve'ezu hi aluntis. What are these things? Anumlin yayin u'dvashel papalin. So anumlin is wine and honey and pepper, and that people just drink. It's spiced wine. They drink it as a drink. So therefore, it's mutter to drink on Shabbos. But like we said, if a guy got it, it has its status basically of yayin mavushal, that a guy would not use it for his avodah zara. But you would need, I think, a single chaysim because the possibility that he would be machlef it. Aluntis, but aluntis is yayin yoshan, old wine, umayim slum in clear water, v'afarsamin, and afarsamin, which is a kind of herb. The avdi lebei mesusa, and that's used for people after they go to the bathhouse in order they shouldn't get sick. They drink this, and this helps them. So therefore, it's also to prepare on Shabbos, because it has a din of schika samamana. Rabbi Rav Yosef Amit Travayu, yayin mazug ein by mishum gila yayin. Yayin that is diluted. Rashi says diluted means 2/3 water and 1/3 wine. Does not have a din of gilu yayin, like we said at the beginning, that it's usher to leave out any liquid because of the chash that the snake will get poison into it. So we say yayin that is diluted, the snake is not interested. Even though it's interesting because the yayin, there's an isser of yayin of drinking wine that was left out. There's a isser to drink water that was left out. When you combine the two, the snake loses interest. Mavushal ein by mishum nisach. And if you cook the wine, there's no issue of yayin nesach when it's by a guy. Ibailhu yayin mavusral yes mishum gili ein by mishum gili. You left out one of the permutations. What happens if you have yayin mavushal? Does a snake drink that or not? Tashma hey Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi al yayin mavushal she'ein by mishum gili. He said there's no isser gili. There's no chash of gili. If Yanei by Yishmael cholash, he got sick. All the Rabbi Yishmael ben Zirud v'Rabbanon l'shule. They came to visit him. Yatvi become mibayli. They were talking amongst themselves. Yain mavoshel yesh mishum gilei. Yain by mishum gilei. Is there a iser gilei and yain mavoshel? Amalu Rabbi Yishmael ben Zirud. Hachi Amr Reb Shimon ben Lakish. Mishum Gaver Rabba. Umanu Reb Chia. Said b'shem Reb Chia. Yain mavoshel ain't by mishum gilei. There's no gilei on yain mavoshel. The wines, the snakes are very finicky. They only take raw wine or plain water. They won't take wine that's diluted, and they won't take wine that's mavushal. Amulei nisbach. He said, "Can you be saimach on this?" Machvi lehu Rav Yanai by Yishmael. Olay v'al tzavari. Rav Yanai by Yishmael, that who was sick, so he wasn't really participating in the discussions, but he signaled that he said it's on me. You could depend on it. It's not a problem. Shmuel va'avlet haviyasvi. Shmuel was sitting with Avlet, who was a guy, an ovid kechavim. The haviyasvi. Aisu lekamei chamra mevashla. They brought in front of them yayin mevushal, mashchel yodeh, and Avlet didn't want to touch it. He didn't want to ruin the yayin. Amlei Shmuel hari amr yayin mevushal ein by mishum yayin nesach. Yayin mevushal is no isur yayin nesach. So he said, "Don't worry about it. You can partake of the wine." This is Tati's. My brother David is here. This is Tati's famous story with the. I think I've told this over with the partner. He went to a dinner party.
Yes.
Yeah, I've told you that story. Yeah, so that's a reminder. So he was at a dinner party with Avlet. He told him, "Don't worry, you could touch the wine." I'm say the Rav Chia igluyula hahu chamra. The maidservant of Rav Chia left out some wine, and she was worried maybe chamra mavashla, cooked wine. So she was worried, is this a problem of gilui? Since it's cooked, there's no problem of gilui, like we said a number of times. He was megala diluted wine. He said that also is not a problem. It's yayin mazik. It's diluted wine. The Papa says this, that we say that yayin meziga, there's no problem of gilui. That's only if it's well diluted, meaning like Rashi had said before, 2 parts water and 1 part wine. Avo mazik v'le mazik, if it only has a little bit of water, if you put 1 schnapps glazel of water in a gallon of wine, shasi, then the snake will drink it, and therefore there is a iser gilui. Mazik v'le mazik mishasi, is it true that the snake will drink partially diluted wine? They were going on a boat. They had wine with them. They saw a serpent, a snake, that was following the boat and going. Had its eyes on the wine. He said to his shamash, "Sami einedi done. Get rid of this snake. Shakal kali maya." So quickly throw some water into the wine, and that will deter this. That will deter the snake. It will make it lose interest. So that's what he did. They put some water in, and the snake turned away. So fact the Gemara, so you see that he just threw in some water. He didn't make it fully mazig. He said just put in a little bit of water. And for the Gemara, amaziga loy masa nafshe. The Gemara says no. If people are watching, it will only do it if it's fully raw, if it's not at all muzzled. I mean, just putting it a little bit together with the fact that they were actually on the boat and watching is enough to deter the snake. But a meziga, if it has a little bit of, right, so like it said, if there's a little bit of water in it, then the snake is not going to go for it.
That explains into Masa Nafshalomas with Bashes and Kol. And Masashim Biu has Lishas. I mean, he still wants it, but he won't be Masa Nafsh.
It means it's Mesiris Nefesh to do it when people are watching. It's scared it's going to die. Yeah.
Yo, isn't the wine that we drink yain mazak?
Yeah. This is all irrelevant. That's what we said at the beginning. We're not knowing because we don't have this issue of snakes. It's not no longer the fact that snakes drink things. I think it must be why.
No, we still have the chumrah of not having things liquid not getting uncovered.
I don't think it has the status of a halacha.
Only a minute again.
Because yain mazak, what we have on our
Yain mazug. What are you talking about? Yain mazug?
Yeah. Meaning our wines that we drink on our tables is considered diluted wine. No.
But that's a different issue. You know, you're not allowed to drink water either that was left out, or milk, any liquid. We're not machmer.
Right.
That means it's supposed to be even if you leave it out for 5 minutes, as we're going to see later on in the Gemara. We're not noyig like any of this. So the yayin mazug is not really relevant. Even full-fledged wine, even yayin that's not mavushal, we're not machmer. That if you leave it out, it's also because of a snake.
So what additional point are we making now with yayin mazak? We're saying that's not that he put some water into.
The Gemara is going b'shas. There was such a let me tell you the way I think it is. I could be 100% wrong, but this is the way I understand it. Since this is an isser that comes from a sakana, it's only it has a different status. Like normally when the chum make a takana, we don't stop it. Like if the Gemara had a takana, we don't stop it because the circumstances have changed. But when it's not an isser per se, but it's safety. Maybe it depends on the circumstances. So this whole Gemara is going that they were being noyig with the isser of gili. I'm saying we, meaning Lamaisa now 1,000 years later, we're not noyig. But I'm sure they explain why this is. It's unusual to be mavatal takanas chachamim. The Gemara has a whole blot about the dinim of yayin gali. But in any case, the yayin mazug is at that time when they were using this. Is it true that if there's a little bit of water in it, that they won't go after, the snakes won't drink it? One of these people, Rav Yani or Bar Hadya, were in this place Meziga. Some people take out the word meziga, as you're going to see, because it doesn't really make sense in the context. Some of the mafarshim take out the word. They were drinking wine, pashluhu chamra bekuva, and after they finished drinking, there was still some wine left in the container. But sarinu beprunka, they took a piece of cloth and covered it so that the snake couldn't get into it. They wanted to avoid it becoming yayin gali. They saw a snake. The snake was very clever. The shakal maya, it added water. Verama bekuva, it added it into the container. Adamala bekuva, until the snake was like getting water, spitting it into the thing, and raising up the level of the wine. The salak kamra iluya, prunka, and the wine rose up past the level of the cloth, the shasi, and the snake drank from it. So you see, the Gemara is assuming that it wasn't mazig exactly the proper amount. That's smart. The snake wasn't.
It depends on the ratio, how much wine was in.
Right. So they're assuming that it must have been a large amount of wine. It wasn't likely that a snake could bring it that much water. It's bring a little bit of water at a time. But you see, in any case, that it still drinks it. And for the Gemara, the mazak iu shasi, the mazak achrini loy shasi. It depends. If the snake does it's doing its own thing, then it will drink it. It has more of a hana from that. But someone else added water to it, then it's not going to drink it. Amar Ravashi v'temer Rav Mishashia, pirukala sakanta. They said, listen, this whole thing is sakana. This is all nonsense. Once it's megula, you shouldn't drink it, even if it's mazug. You can't depend on these type of things. You have all these different subtle differences of whether the snake is scared of other people, whether it put it. Just don't drink yayin that's megula. With sakana. So this is the opposite of what I said before. The sakana in some ways is chamira from chasakanta chamira meisura, that you don't think of any kunsin. Rava says, like we said, like you just said, yayin muzag has a din of gila, and there's also a din of yayin nesach, meaning that goyim will use it for their avodah zara. Yayin mevushal ein b'mishum gila ve'ein b'mishum yayin nesach. However, yayin mevushal, he does say that there's no iser gila and also no yayin nesach. It's not considered yayin anymore. Shamei de Rav Chilki Batuvi igla hu kisasa demaya. The servant of Rav Chilkiah Batuvi uncovered a cup of wine, v'havanayim gaba, and he was sleeping next to it. Also, Rav Chilki Batuvi, he went to ask Rav Chilki Batuvi. There was wine, and I was watching it, but I fell asleep. Amrei Amro Amos Yoshan Aleim. The snakes are scared of even a sleeping person, like we've said. The Gemara says in other contexts that a sleeping person, the animals have fear of them. That's only by day. When a person's, that's when he's napping. But when he's sleeping for the night, then we would have to worry that the snake drank from it. But the Gemara says the halacha is it doesn't make sense. Even by night, even by day, we are concerned that the snake drank from it, even though if the person is napping. Amos Yoshan Aleim Le'amrin. This whole concept of Amos Yoshan Aleim, we don't say, but probably because sakanta, you have to be extra careful. Rav Loishasi mi be'aramoy. He wouldn't drink from the houses of our Armenians. Amar lo zehir begili, meaning this gili is not just the Isser Torah, it's a sakana. He says that Armenians are not careful; they don't care about their lives, and they don't watch their water. Be'ar malasa, from a widow, so a Jewish widow, so she doesn't know halachas, she doesn't know why things are done. So when her husband's not around to tell her to cover the water or the wine, she's not going to do so. But he would drink shasi. Why? Amar sercha de gava nakita. She will just do out of habit whatever her husband told her to do, even without understanding why. So he wasn't worried about it. Shmuel lo shasi maya mi be'ar malasa. He wouldn't drink from the be'ar malasa. Amar lesla emsa de gavra v'lo michse maya. Said that she only will follow the minhagim of her husband, legabe going to Parshas Zachar. But legabe the water, she's not going to be scared of her husband. She's not going to care about it. But he would drink for Armenians. Even though they don't care about their lives and they don't watch the water to make sure it doesn't get drunk by snakes. They are worried about cleanliness, so therefore they'll cover it up. They wouldn't just leave something open that gets dirt in it overnight. Rav said, like we had said before, Rav is the same. But Shmuel wouldn't drink neither from our Aramean and not for Amalasa. He was worried about both of them. He didn't think that the Arameans were so makbid on cleanliness that he was willing to drink from it. Amishah ben Lakish. Shalosh Yeinasein. There are three types of wine that are exceptions from the rule that we say that there's a Isser Gilei. There are three wines ve'ein b'hem mishum gilei. There are three wines that a snake won't drink. Even a snake won't drink. Ve'eluhei. Chad, mar, and masuk. Chad is sharp, mar is bitter, and masuk is sweet. Chad, tila charifa de mitzri ziki. Chad is a Tila Harifa, which Rashi says Talia Harifa, a strong wine that doesn't have a good taste, but it's almost like vinegary, and it's so strong that it busts the bottles that it's put in. Mar is Yarnica. Mar is Yarnica, which is, Rashi says, bad and bitter. Bad and bitter variety of wine. And Masuk is Chulia, which is because it gets extra ripe from the sun, it gets overly sweet, and it's also not good. All of these things are inferior types of wine that a snake won't drink, and therefore there's no Isser Gilui. Rav Chama Masni Lialuya, he says that no, these three things were all better wines, but they were different, and that the snake wouldn't drink them. Chad, Chamar, Upal Kapalin. The sharp wine is wine together with pepper. Mar, Aspinsin, is a kind of spinsin, what Rashi calls Olishna Balaz. It's a variety of wine that's bitter, that's extra bitter, but it's extra good also. It's a very high alcohol wine. Masuk Mayberg. And Masuk is, Rashi says, a mashka meshubach, and it's called Lashon Berg. Saktamara, Amar of Shimon ben Lakish, Karina, this wine that's called Karina, Ein b'mishum Gila. It also doesn't have Gila. My Karina, what is this Karina? Amar Rabavo, Chamra Chalya, Da'asim Asya, sweet wine that comes from Asia. Amar Rava, Mukame Yesh b'mishum Gila. Even though we say we allow you to drink drunk Magula, in Asia, it's also. My time of Chamam Bedinahu. Since it's so common, the snakes get used to it and they drink it, even though it's unusual for the snakes over here. Amarava, Hai Chamra de Akrim, Atlasa Yoimi Yeshba Mishum Gile. Wine that started to sour. So there are, there are a couple of stages in wine, right? First, it's grape juice. Then you ferment it. It becomes wine. After it becomes wine, eventually, if you open up the cork of your bottle, it could become sour wine. So now we're talking about the second thing. It's becoming sour wine. So Hai Chamer the Akram, it's becoming sour. Atlas Yumiyesh Mishum Gili. Once it first begins to sour, it's still drinkable for 3 days, and the snake will also drink it, and therefore there'll be an Issa Gili. Mishum Yayin Nesach. There's also Yayin Nesach because they'll use it for Avay Zichav. Kam Ve'elch Ein Mishum Gili Ve'en Mishum Yayin Nesach. After that, there's no Issa Gili and there's no Yayin Nesach because it's already sour, and it's not wine anymore. You still have to worry about gila. My time is in mikri v'shasi. A snake might sometimes go for it, even though it's past the time, even though it's come sour, you might not realize. Wine that's fermenting. So this is the earlier stage. You're taking the grape juice and fermenting it. So it's still in that interim stage. It's not yet grape. It's no longer grape juice. It's not yet wine. It doesn't taste very good. So a snake won't take. But how long does it ferment? Gimel Yamim. Also 3 days. Hashcholim Eimba Mishum Gilei. Wine that has cress in it doesn't have a din Gilei. Ubnei Goyla Nagaba and Isser. They were asered it. That's only if you don't have, in addition to cress, you also have a little bit of vinegar. Aval Isbu Chalif. Once you have cress and vinegar, Migrubahu, then the snakes are going to turn up their nose at it. They're going to stay away from it, and therefore there's no Isser Gilei. Kusach habavli, that's a dip that they made that had alcohol in it, had wine in it. Anybody mishum gilei, that doesn't have gilei. Ubnei goyla nagu boyis, so they were asked it because sometimes maybe they would take from the snakes would take from it. Amar Nashi yisbe minukuri chashin. However, if you see puncture marks, you could see a bite mark in this dip, then you have to be chayish. Amar Chia Barashi Amar Shmuel may tiftif anybody mishum gilei. Water, this is an onomatopoeia. This is a word that are what they sound like. The drip, drip. May tif, tif. As the water drips, there's no gili. Because as the Gemara we're going to see, tif lahadi tif tif. That's only if it's a constant drip. That means the snake hears the drip and it scares him away. If there's noise, it scares him away, so the dripping water scares him away. This Isser, it is interesting. The Isser Gila would be very far-ranging. It includes if you leave out open, let's say, an open thing of watermelon, as we're going to see, or an open date or a fig that is exposed. That liquid the moist part of the fruit would also have an isagili. But we say if you leave it open, that it's just open, it's not going to be a isagili. A person can eat the even if there's a slight opening in it. So the Rebbeinu Shalom watches it's a normal thing to eat your fruit. This is already making it too much of a imposition. So we say Shem Ipsayim Hashem. The Rebbeinu Shalom watches over those who are doing normal things, and it's a normal thing to eat fruit, and therefore there's no Isser Gili. Amar Safim Shem Yeshua, the Raima.
Why did touch up the Sayim?
Sayim is fools.
I thought it was.
Yeah. He watches the innocent. There are 3 types of poisons. Shal bachor shaykea, a young snake, its venom is very strong and it sinks to the bottom. Shal beinani mefafeya, of a middle-sized snake, a middle-aged snake, it floats in the middle. Shal zaken saf, and that of a old snake, it goes all the way to the top and it floats on the surface. Remember the comment, the kashish kachish, that makes it sound like a snake. The older it gets, the weaker it gets. The 3 barriers that as they get older, they get stronger. Eluhain, dog, a fish, nachash, a snake, v'chazir, and a davar acher. But a nachash is included. It gets stronger. So why are we saying that its venom sinks to the bottom because it floats on the top because it's weaker? It's like the strength, the physical strength of the snake gets more, but its venom gets weaker. So we say that that of the young snake so sinks to the bottom. So what's an afkamina? The Tanya Chavich and his gala, a barrel that was opened, it stayed open. Even though 9 people drank from it and didn't die, this 10th person can't drink. And the 10th person died. And the reason is because it might have been a young snake that's venom went to the bottom. So the first 9 drank from the top, and then when the 10th person got to the bottom, he got the young snake's venom. Same thing with a watermelon that was left open. Even though 9 people ate from it and they didn't die, the 10th shouldn't eat. The 10th person died. This is the problem of sheikeya. Okay, we'll stop over here. Shkayach. I could see you were in the Bungle colony, so I wasn't worried about making you miss the minyan.
Yeah, we have a late one. Oh, you mean the Kylo minion?
Yeah.
I don't got time. I don't got time for the. We have we have the Kylo from you guys here in the morning, 7:45 chakras.
That's right.
Yeah, but it's